Rose English, and I'm here to share a story. Seal Mother, a Selkie tale in verse. One lonely seal in the midst of the ocean rolls on the waves to the rhythmical motion. The sea reaches out to kiss golden sands like the gentle caress of a warm mother's hand. The seal watches over the child on the sand, her lovely young daughter, born of the land. The child sits on a rock with her feet in the water, not yet aware she's the pretty seal's daughter. The seals come to talk to the child, and she barks out hello, but the child cannot understand. So the seal has an idea, and she dives down deep to the ocean floor where she finds a magical seashell. This is what she does with the seashell. She flicks it out of the ocean and onto the beach. A beautiful seashell just within reach. The girl picks it up, pulling it near. Then the seal smiles to herself when it's pressed to her ear. Within this old seashell is a magical song of both ocean and breeze, and the child hums along. Melodic and haunting she hears from inside, along with the rhythm of the soft rolling tide. So now the little girl can understand. So the seal mother's going to tell her story. Now hear my story and listen, I plea. Feel through this shell and you will soon see. The girl understands and smiles down at the seal. There is magic afoot, and she knows it's all real. I tell you a tale of a seal cast away to a world on the land. She was forced there to stay, like a fish out of water, no longer to swim, a lady of substance with 4 graceful limbs. On rare special nights in the midst of the year, on Midsummer's Eve, seals act without fear, stepping out of our skin in the silver moonlight. As humans we dance till the sun sheds its light. As stars sparkle like diamonds on a velvet black sky, we Selkies give thanks to the moon goddess on high. We sing out her praise for her nurturing hand, sharing love with our family right there on the sand. So there's the seal mother. Now on one special night, from a rock on the land, a fisherman spied them right there on the sand. Entranced was the man as he caught just a shimmer of sealskins piled high as the moon made them glimmer. He knew those great treasures, and he crept oh so near. Then he stole one away without any fear. The sealskin was soft, such a beautiful pelt, and to capture a bride was his wish so heartfelt. The young fisherman knew of all the old tales, and over went through the details of the beautiful dark Selkie made brides to catch one for himself. Her skin he must hide. So he took it away to a chest in his house and hid it forever from all but a mouse. For this one tiny creature was watching the man, but had no idea what the human had planned. The skin it stayed hidden in a chest by his bed, and the big ornate key on a shelf overhead. When he slept in the night, he dreamt of new wealth, of money, of love, a long life and good health. At the first sign of dawn, he awoke from his sleep, and out of the window he took a small peep. The weather was fair, and he set out to forage out on the seashore before his breakfast of porridge. As he left the small cottage out through his front door, the gods became angry and let out a roar. The skies turned dark grey. As he pulled on his coat, he tugged it quite tight, striding off to his boat. As he came to the beach, he found to his shock a naked young woman sitting high on a rock. She was like porcelain, tiny and thin, with long wavy hair wrapped around her pale skin. The fisherman's glance took in her best feature, two large round brown eyes had this magical creature. Her beauty was such, not a thing could compare, so at first he did nothing but stand there and stare. The sealskin was hers, this he knew from the start, but they'd soon be together. She would be his sweetheart. So he took off his coat, then when he felt bolder, with tenderness he wrapped the coat round her shoulder. The fisherman soon fell so deeply in love, he thought her an angel sent from up above. She all the while only longed for the sea. By finding her sealskin, she could leave and be free. In time, the seal maid gave a piece of her heart, but from all other folk she kept well apart. Her seal family she mourned, they were so sadly missed. She could not see a way they could all coexist. On land it was hard for the seal maid to cope. Of finding her skin she was losing all hope. Then the fisherman said, "You've brought light to my life. I love you most dearly, so please be my wife." Finally in church they were joined in wedlock, yet still daily she gazed out to sea from her rock. Her family she spied, but they dare not come near. They were wary of man, and the unknown they did fear. Whilst the seal maid stayed home, cleaning the house, she met and befriended the tiny wee mouse. He would squeak to his friend, but it was really no good. He simply could not make himself understood. One night, as the moonlight shone down on the beach, she spotted a seashell just out of reach. The shell, it seemed magic, for it had a faint shimmer. Whilst approaching, she noticed the moon goddess's glimmer. With this special prize, all would be understood. She would share with the mouse tales of her childhood. The tiny white seashell, as big as her friend, allowed each to listen and to now comprehend. The seal maid was sad, yet the mouse made her smile. They giggled together once in a while. She spoke of her family deep under the sea, and tears would appear, for she longed to be free. In time she gave birth to babes on the land, whom she often took down to play on the sand. The children they grew, and all loved the water, especially her bright and beautiful daughter. She spoke to her friend when no one was present. 7 years had now passed, life was no longer pleasant. She really missed home and those in the sea. She loved her earth children, but still longed to be free. Her husband kept hold of the key to the chest, where hidden away the sealskin did rest. No time did he have to view it alone, for his beautiful wife was always at home. He knew while he worked she went and spent time on the rock, so he went home unseen and placed the key in the lock. The old wooden chest let out a loud creak, and he rummaged inside the skin for to seek. What he spied with his eyes he could not believe. His treasure was gone, and now he would grieve, for there in its place was a tatty grey pelt. He felt sad and broken, for this fate he'd been dealt. The fisherman sobbed with the pelt in his hand, whilst his wife and his children were out on the sand. But as he was sobbing, the mouse spied him there, with the skin of his friend, so this news he would share. In the distance he heard his family outside, so quick in the trunk the skin he did hide. He locked up the chest with seconds to spare. When they all stepped inside, they just stopped to stare. Then the smallest young girl, she ran to her father, then jumped in his arms and smiled at her mother. The seal maid was concerned and felt something amiss, yet she smiled in return, and he gave her a kiss. Before early dawn the man left to go fish, with thoughts to be rid of the skin, his new wish. Meanwhile at home the kid set out to play, so Mouse thought it time to give his news away. His friend, she was sat by a shelf where the shell with its magic was waiting, new tales for to tell. Mouse pushed it closer to the seal mother's ear, and to hear of his story the woman drew near. In the chest by your bed your real skin does lie, yet it's locked deep inside. This much I did spy. I can tell you right now that he carries the key in the coat that he wears when he goes off to sea. Seal Mother, she ran to the room with the chest, but it could not be opened, though she did try her best. She tried with a fork and then with a knife, but the lock would not turn, and this gave her great strife. Her husband came home, having failed at his job. Had his luck somehow turned? He thought with a sob. The skin was to blame when it let out a sigh and sent out a message to the goddess up high. The moon goddess was sad when she learned of this news. She despaired of these humans and their constant abuse. They took from the land and from the great ocean, just taking, no giving, without care or emotion. She wanted to punish this man for his crime, but others would suffer at the same time. The goddess decided that just for one day she would stop all the fish and hide them away. On the day all did suffer, there was no fish for tea, for once he'd come home with no gifts from the sea. That night all was sad, only veg on the plate, and the fisherman pondered, would this now be his fate? Man and wife could not sleep, and both did now worry, especially the husband, who was so very sorry. For taking the skin he thought had been treasure, and he'd hidden it away to be sold at his leisure. The next day was Sunday, and they went out to pray, the husband and children, whilst his wife she would stay. She remained in their home, being fearful of people, yet she bid them goodbye as the bell called from the steeple. They set out to church, all dressed in their best. The seafaring coat that held the key to the chest was hung up, forgotten, on the hook by the door. The key left inside he would regret evermore. Seal Mother worked fast and took out the key to seek out her skin and escape back to the sea. As she opened the chest, her heart almost stopped, but with a sigh of relief, to her knees she did drop. Her beautiful pelt, although in one piece, was now dull and grey, but would bring her release. Without thought for her family born on the land, she ran out the door and down to the sand, with one final look towards the small house. One big regret would be missing the mouse. She knew that her friend would of course understand as she returned to the sea and left this strange land. The sealskin was dry and a dull dusty grey. In the water she placed it at the edge of the bay. With a few pebbles in hand she weighted it down as she stripped off her shoes, her shawl and her gown. The sealskin came to life with the waves of the ocean. It was tight to slip on, but she was roused into motion. In no time at all she was back in her skin and pushed off to sea with her powerful fins. Seal Mother was free and the land left behind. Before anyone knew, she was with her own kind. She was greeted with love and soft, gentle kisses. Then all dived down deep to swim with the fishes. So the Seal Mother found her skin and returned to her family in the sea. She told the story to her young daughter, and in time she visited her family upon the land, and the fisherman was able to collect all the fish he could ever eat, and the children would laugh and play along the sand, shouting and waving to their seal mother. The end. I'm Rose English, and this has been Seal Mother. Thank you for listening.